That should be good. That should be up.
Message everyone.
Yeah, I just got a couple of people out. Javi's 1/10 quicker, just under 2/10 quicker than Snipes. So Snipes has done a 16.7, which is an interesting.
Yeah, Snipes is quick.
It is quite funny given our conversation earlier.
Yeah, I know.
Let's see if Snipes
Okay.
can improve.
I've shared the link. Now we can actually let me just get some stats up from last season.
We've got 5 people's times here within a quarter of a second.
Nice.
Super GT, Fatban, Javi, Snipes, and Skyline.
Oh yeah, Super GT's just started setting laps now.
Yeah. I don't know if
Okay.
any of the other lads have set lap times, or if they're just watching and lurking.
I think there's some lurking going on.
Yeah, I told them that this is going to be up. This is the actual lobby. Just come and go as you please for the next 2.5 hours. So.
Right, should we get started?
I think it would probably be a good idea. It's just got a few people joining the stream now, so everyone will be starting to realize that we're live. So we're going through for everyone who's not aware, or weren't reading the eSports chat, you're privy to that. We're going to go through basically every single person that we got for the eSports, listed down on the eSports league this season from all 10 teams. And then probably at the end, probably going to give a few predictions. We see how we go off the track there. Probably give a few predictions as to where we think the season's going to go, mainly tonight, and then maybe for who actually makes the races 7 and 8 later on. But yeah, we're just going through. We're just going to go through everyone, starting from. I reckon the best place to start would be with your current reigning champions, right?
Yeah, we can start with Project Platypus. So we have 60 drivers entered into this season in esports. Project Platypus have 10 of those 60 drivers, even though there's 10 teams. So let's just have a little recap of who they've got on the team. Obviously, they've got Perry. So Perry, last season, did 6 of the 8 races with the best result of first. He won the very first esports season. He's the team captain of Project Platypus as well, so expected to see a lot more of him this season. He's just moved up into Tier 1 after winning the Tier 2 championship last season in a Beetle.
Yeah, and that's not an easy feat, especially with the final 2 races. They kind of murdered that car quite badly after the update. But yeah, there's a large range of drivers on Project Platypus, Perry being the first one of them. He's in a Mazda RX Vision, so I can imagine a lot of one-stops, attempted one-stops this season for him. He might pose a threat if he can get in the way of a few drivers at the very least.
Yeah, I think there's 2 cars probably that would be the most comfortable doing one-stops, and that would be the Mazda and probably the Renault, which we are seeing on 4 cars this season, actually. So yeah, potential for one stop much more realistic for Perry than some of the other drivers that you're going to see on this list.
Yeah,
so there's been a little bit of driver movement in Project Platypus. So last season, the 3 quickest drivers were BX, Viking, and Iggy in the league. They all got race wins for Project Platypus as well. Iggy is no longer on Project Platypus. He's moved to another team, so we'll talk about him later. That's a big blow for Project Platypus. That's like potentially their quickest driver out of the picture. But they do still have Viking, and they do still have BX. Viking is the current Tier 1 champion, and he's in the BMW M6, which is a car that you're going to be hearing a lot of tonight. And we've got BX Royal in the GR Supra.
Yeah, both of them preferring one-lap pace over potential strategy, which makes sense. They are the two fastest drivers in that team for certain. They both won races in the eSports last season against Arex, who we'll be covering later on in this stream. But yeah, neither of which are actually driving tonight, which is a nice little heads up. But yeah, there's still a lot of potential in Project Platypus. They may have lost Iggy to a potential rival at the very least, but they still have a chance of retaining that championship for certain. As we go through
definitely.
this
season. After winning 7 out of 8 races last season, I think even with the new drivers, they're going to be absolutely up there and in the last race of the season. So let's go through a couple more of their drivers. So they've got 2 other drivers in the Mazda, just like Perry. They've got Zico, who was another race winner last season in... it
was Austria last season.
It was Austria, yeah, that's the one he won. And then we've also got Mate, who's new to Project Platypus, a new signing for the season. The first of 2, along with Kellen, those are the 2 new signings for Project Platypus this season. So they had 9 drivers last season, which was a lot, and they've increased it to the maximum 10.
Well, in actual thing, they're 2 new in terms of actual esports as a whole, but they actually made 3 different signings, given the fact that they had Asseldor on they now have Asseldor on the team as well.
Yeah.
He drove for V2 last season. So a potential upgrade for Asseldor. I don't know if he's going to be featured quite as much as a result, and given that they've got, what is it, like 5 tier 1 drivers? 6 maybe?
Yeah.
I can't count.
Yeah, Asseldor, I'm just going through his results from last season, and he did race half the season, and in 2 of those races he finished in the top 5. So that is a good signing to make and to take away from a rival, absolutely. Asseldor's in the Huracan, one of 2 drivers in the Huracan for Project Platypus, the other being Big Beaver. That's a really interesting decision. I'm not sure it's going to stand the test of time, some of these drivers who've picked the Huracan.
Yeah, the Huracan's either going to be a really good find. It's, well, we'll find that out really quickly, albeit this being one of the worst tracks, I think, for the Huracan. Or it's going to be a hidden gem, or it's going to be one of those where they're going to be languishing, hoping wishing they had picked a different car, but it's all about how well you mesh with the car at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. And then finally, the last 2 drivers in Project Platypus, taking a while to get here. They're both racing in the Renault, and they both, I think, only did 1 race last season. It's Dan, who managed to get a P7 in Laguna Seca, and it's Whack Jamps, who finished 12th in Spa in round 3. So, yeah, those 2 will have a little bit to prove on their team heading into this season, I think.
Yeah, and well, they're free driving for Project Platypus tonight, and just we'll give everyone the high lineups as we've got them. Perry, Zico, and Kellen is going to be driving for them tonight. So somewhere in the middle of what we think their strongest lineup would be. They obviously know Viking, no BX is a major blow, even especially when you're given the fact that Viking's in an M6, and the M6 is probably the best car on this track.
Yeah. But they've still got a strong lineup. 2 tier 1 drivers and a tier 2 driver who was seeded for this season. So I think they've got a decent chance, not guaranteed, but a decent chance of all of them qualifying for Lobby A tonight.
Yeah, they're going to have a couple of them on the lower end, potentially fighting on the cutoff mark, but it definitely a potential that 3 go into Lobby A, and obviously that would be quite a strong start. If that happens. So, next, do we go with the main rival from last season, I think?
Yep, Arex, the runners-up. The team that I think it's fair to say had a lot of chances to take race wins that just didn't work out for various reasons. So they'll be looking to come back with a cleaner season and really bring the challenge at the front. So yeah, that's Arex. They've got 3 drivers in the Lamborghini Huracan. So we were talking about how it might be an interesting choice that could work out, maybe not though. We've got Arex Slim, Arex Javi, and Keplero in the Huracan.
Yeah, it's go big or go home, I think, for Arex this season in particular.
Yeah,
It is certainly reflected well in their card choices, that's a certain. Javi
absolutely.
is a tier 1 champion in his own right, is one of the fastest people we will have in this server as a whole, and will stay that way for probably a long time.
Yeah.
Whereas Slim is it depends what kind of person turns up on the day kind of driver.
Well, yeah, okay. So all three of these had quite similar results in esports last season. They all had multiple podiums, but none of them got the race win until the final round when Javi won the Nürburgring. So these are the three main drivers, I would say, and they're all in the identical cars. So they're going to be synergized at least with what they're going to do strategy-wise. The other three on Arex are Ben in the M6 again. We've got Peachy, who's in the Mazda. He's racing tonight, actually. He's the tier 3 driver in a team of tier 1 drivers, essentially, here. So he's got a lot of support to try and bring out the performance that he can give. And then the last one is someone who was in the team last season but didn't race. It's Marco, who's former tier 1 champion. He's in the Lexus.
Yeah, and I find it really funny that we were talking about synergy as soon as Javi goes off the track here. so we are...
That's the synergy they had last season.
Yeah, for anyone that is wondering, I just have a lobby up for now. It's practice for the race later on. We're just getting a nice little look at some of the drivers that may be in lobby A, maybe in lobby B. We'll see from their times later on. And we're just get a heads up, a small preview of what they might be bringing to the table tonight. And yeah, let's switch down the list, and Ryoki's off the track as well. So, who do you want to go to next?
Third place last season was V2. So, yeah, they'd be a good place to start. This team is another team that has really focused on a single car. That car is the M6. They've got Andrew, Skyline, Snipes, Kanata, and Mortal Veloz all in the M6.
Yeah, and, well, from what we've heard, obviously we've done all our own testings, we drive on a Monday and everything like that, but from what we've been hearing, the rumours and everything, the M6 is definitely the best car in the game at this point in time.
Yeah, and that's the general consensus. Over one lap, it seems to be incredibly quick in a lot of tracks, especially tracks like this. And yeah, over the course of a season, we'll have to wait and see. It's got pretty bad fuel, but it is only a 2 times fuel setting that we have, so it probably doesn't impact it as badly as on Mondays, especially with a slightly quicker refueling speed as well.
Yeah, and just cuts down the pit stop time a little bit, so they have left less time to actually have to make up, and that might play into their favours later on.
Yeah. And then the last driver on their team is the only one who's not in the M6. That's Eroticos in the Nissan GTR, which again is a solid car with a huge fuel tank. So, looking at their results last season, they had a few decent ones. It's difficult to pick out where they finished, to be honest. They usually kind of were mid-table, and Asseldor was getting some good results. Andrew had a P4, who's racing again this season, but not tonight, and he had a P6, and Kanata had a P6 in the final round. But apart from that, it was a bit of a struggle for these guys last season. So yeah, not a great season for Mortal, who we know from many seasons with us. He's an incredibly quick guy. Skyline and Snipes also have shown in this lobby, at least, that they're really good over a single lap, but we'll have to wait and see what happens, because this might be the kind of team that struggles to qualify in lobby A, but if they can, then they've got the opportunity to get big points and be one of those 5 teams that qualify for the final 2 rounds of the season.
Yeah, we've got a few teams that'll be on the... Oh, as we see Super GT spin. well, we've got a few teams that are vying for a final position, or so we think. We'll get to those predictions later on, but V2 is definitely one of those teams that will be vying for a very good position, hopefully a position in the final couple of races. But they'll be facing some fierce competition, realistically, as we go along. Another one of those teams that are hoping maybe to be in less incidents, I think, was the main Achilles heel of the season, last season, Pegasus. And so they came fourth last season in eSports, and they are actually fairly focused on one car, and for some miracle, it's not the Porsche.
It's not the Porsche. No one's in the Porsche for Pegasus this season. It's actually, that's not true. There's two Porsches. But it's not the whole team. Max and Street Fighter are the two Porsches, and they both raced in the Porsche last season, so they're just sticking with consistency. Post update, the Porsche is definitely one of the quickest cars, so it makes complete sense why they would stick with it.
Yeah, and Distant in the Huracan, which we saw at the Nord at the end of last season. So we'll see whether or not he's going to be able to do a bit more this season in that car. And then the rest are actually hedging their bets with the Supra. So similar to what BX did, what BX chose. So they're all four of them are in the GR Supra. That would be Pumpkin Patch, Chris, RSA. Those three are racing tonight, and Pung, which is a new driver for Pegasus. They got one new guy in their team and replaced Richard, who had a couple of races with them last season. But yeah, it's a full Supra lineup tonight for Pegasus.
Yeah, I think this is incredibly clever what they've done this season with prioritizing the Supra because of the split in lobbies. The Supra, I would argue, is the quickest car over a single lap in a lot of tracks, especially on this kind of calendar that we have, high speed tracks with a lot of fast corners. If they can get their three drivers into Lobby A, that's guaranteed at least 5 points, 6 points, and 7 points added up together. And you're pushing down a lot of your rivals into Lobby B who might, over the course of a race, be quicker, but because you've chose the Supra, you're getting into that better lobby. So I think it's a really clever strategy if that was their train of thought.
Well, we'll see how it pays out during the season. But yeah, there's definitely a case to be made for them, especially if they can avoid the incidents, because we saw that last season where sometimes it was their own mistake, but Laguna in particular is the one that springs to mind. All three of them were wiped out by the end of lap one by the bowling ball, which we'll actually go on to next.
Well, we won't, because he's not in the lineup for Panthera next season. So they are the final team. Unfortunately, they were the Wooden Spoon team last season. And they are back with a lineup of 4 drivers. Let me just find where they actually are, because it's difficult to find. Okay, so we got Clemson back in the McLaren this time. Otto Ration switched across to the Renault, which he's also racing in Monday League, so a nice bit of consistency for him should help. Bruma is in the M6. Surprisingly, Bruma actually did not do a race last season. So he's not actually signed up for tonight either, so it'll be interesting to see if he actually makes his eSports debut, because we know he's a pretty quick guy. And then Wesley is the final one in the Porsche. Wesley kind of carried hard last season, and unfortunately it wasn't enough to keep them from the bottom spot. But they were in 3rd place for quite a while at the beginning of the season because of Wesley's heroics, finishing 4th in the first round, 6th in the second, 5th in the third. Some really good consistency, and then started falling away from the 4th round onwards a little bit.
Yeah, their entire season hinged on Wesley managing to hang on with the front guys, and it was obviously going to run out eventually. He's just, well, at the end of the day, just ran out of steam, I think, at the end, but hoping to just find something again this season. Maybe continue helping Panthera off the bottom. That's potentially where we expect them again.
I don't know. I think they might struggle to get into Lobby A, but they could really be the stars of Lobby B. And if you can get, top 5 results in Lobby B, especially with 3 cars or 2 cars at least, then you're going to be well placed in the standings to actually give yourself a shot of maybe troubling the top 5. But yeah, I think it'll be difficult for them. But we love an underdog story.
Yeah, I was trying to desperately bring up the fact that he was actually fighting for a win in Daytona until the game screwed him out of it.
Yeah, I will agree. That was a very strong performance from Otto up until that point. I think podium was easily on the cards at least.
It was the only time Otto actually showed that he should be an A+ driver.
But he finished 12th, unfortunately.
That was unfortunate.
Actually, managing to beat anyone was impressive, to be fair, after what happened.
Yeah. And with the 5 teams that we have already done for this season, for last season, the 5 teams that took part in season 1 of ALR eSports, we now have 5 more. We expanded. We're now at 10 teams, and let's cover the first of those, being what everyone else expects to be the fastest team on the grid. So potential contenders straight away, and that is Feel Good Racing, FGR. They've come to this with four drivers, and 2 of those drivers are around the top 10 in the world in time trial, so make of that what you will. We'll see what they can do in a race pace, but 2 of them are on the screen right now if you want to run us through it, Ross.
Yeah, so we've got Super GT and Ryoki here. So these are 2 drivers that, if you are familiar at all with the time trials that everyone does and competes in on a weekly basis, these 2 are quite often seen in the top 10. And the 3rd driver that is racing tonight, who is... can't remember off the top of my head.
Just going through. Rabak is the 3rd one.
Oh yes, it's Rabak. He's another one that can appear in the top 10. So we know that these guys have mad pace. They're all in the M6 in this team, including Ruppy, who I think is their reserve driver. So that's how they're operating, 3 full-timers and a reserve. This is their main league in ALR that they compete in. So this is their primary focus. Expecting them always to be in Lobby A unless something really strange happens. I don't think that they are as quick as everyone was making out. I would say Javi and Viking seem to be on equal footing with some of these guys. Super GT might have a 10th and a half on Javi's fastest time in this lobby. But it's not like light years ahead, like it kind of seemed in Discord, the way that some people were reacting when they joined. So yeah, they are the favourites. They come in as the favourites. I think pretty much everyone would agree with that. Super GT actually said at one point he's planning on winning all 8 races. So let's see how that goes. It's quite a bold claim to make. Even if he was joking and saying it in jest, I'm taking it as verbatim now. It is on the record.
It's going to be one of those that if that doesn't happen now, the next 7 weeks of commentary after tonight could be very, very interesting. Oh, Ryoki almost off the track as we talk the way through the team. So, it's, 16-7 I think is the best lap so far from Ryoki in this lobby, and then 16-3, 6-3 from Super GT as well. So Super GT is the one we're looking at. He's supposedly the quickest person we have in this server, full stop. So there's a lot of pressure to live up for this team. Let's see if they do in fact hang on to that pressure and wipe the floor of everyone as they're expected to.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. But there's another team that has joined that I would say has a great chance of winning the championship based on who they've got on their team and even their past record as an esports team elsewhere. So that is Helix, or is it Helix, or is it?
it's gonna it's gonna get worse all the way through the season. That's exactly what this is gonna be. But yeah, so as we mentioned earlier, Project Platypus lost Iggy, and we are now at Helix, which is the team that Iggy has got, was on loan from last season.
Yeah, because they didn't compete in ALR last season, basically. Iggy decided to compete, but now that they are competing, with Iggy as the captain as well, by the way, they are Yeah, a very, very strong team. Not even just Iggy, but let's just talk about Iggy for a little bit. He was a race winner last season. He won in Watkins Glen in an M6. This season he's racing in the Mazda, so he's going for a completely different tactic in terms of picking a car that you can fuel save really well in and saving a lot of tire life on these long stints, making the one stop really possible for Iggy this time around. But he's not the only one who's incredibly quick. Also racing tonight is JM Devil, who's in the M6, but who Iggy says is quicker than him. I have absolutely no idea if that's true or not. We'll see tonight.
Yeah, Iggy calling him a ego crusher is what I've been hearing in when we've been talking about the eSports setup. So we're expecting the new guys are what we're expecting to bring the pace tonight. Let's be honest. We don't know an awful lot about Devil, but we expect him to have pace. We don't know an awful lot about the FGR lads apart from the time trial leaderboard. So we're expecting a lot of pace coming from the new teams, but we'll see if there's going to be more than meets the eye. And also, the final driver tonight for Helix is Philip, which is someone this league does know. He has raced here before.
He's had podium in Tier 1, I think, as well in the past. So definitely capable of really quick times. Consistency is maybe not always the best. So he's one of those drivers I think will qualify for Lobby A more often than not, but I don't think it's going to be as straightforward as his teammates tonight, at least. But I'm prepared to be proven wrong. I have been many times.
Yeah. So we've gone through those three. Devil's in the M6, Iggy in the Mazda, and Philip in the GTR 18. So 3 different cars as well tonight. So we'll see where that ends up. The other drivers on Helix's team, so they came in with 7. It's Sick Individuals, another name rather famous in ALR lore. If you guys are aware of that from a long time ago, but he's driving the Renault RSL1.
Yep.
Then you got M-Team.
Yeah, go for it.
M-Team, who is in the Mazda RX Vision. He's not long since been in the league.
He's another driver that goes into the top 10 on the daily leaderboards, though, as well. So another one. We've only seen him in one race, but he's got mad pace. So if he can nail it and be consistent, he could definitely challenge for podiums in Lobby A.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see whether or not he can keep it clean as well. We've had a few run-ins already, but also they have Pagel, who's my current Tier 3 teammate. He's in the M6, and Flaze, which is a name we are accustomed with. He's in the Lexus RCF 17.
Yeah.
As well, so they've got
another one who's meant to be incredibly quick though, Flaze. So maybe potentially up there in the top 5s when he does race. So I think this team, I'm going to say, comfortable qualifiers for the final 2 races. Where they are at the end of the season, we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, could do it on their debut. I think Iggy has. I know he has because I've asked him and he said yes. He wants to be the only 2-time esports champion in ALR. He's already got one. He split from the team, and now he's got the chance to do it a second time. And then that would be just the biggest flex to be able to dunk on everybody, wouldn't it? If he manages to do it.
Yeah, it would be a giant middle finger to Project Platypus at the very least. That's for certain. I think that's a message that would come across loud and clear if that would happen at the end of this season, especially when both of them are expected to be fighting for that championship to see if they can crown themselves 2-time champions. So we've gone through Helix, we've gone through FGR. That leaves...
Let's go through Falcon next.
Yeah, as I say, that leaves us 3. So let's do Falcon next. So this is a team that, I guess, spawned out of a league that was made from... Some of the drivers will know from ALR. They've got a lot of ALR names in their team as well.
Yeah.
You want to run us through what
A
they
little,
have?
yeah, a little fusion. So let's start with Pasty. So we all know Pasty. Pasty was my pick to win Tier 3 last season, and this season he's in Tier 4. And he's in the Porsche 911, which again is an incredibly quick car. I think when he races, he'll do pretty well, to be honest, in Lobby B, I've got to say, though. Then we've also got Kenny. Kenny's new to ALR. He's after he passed evaluation, he's starting out in Tier 5 as a AMG driver in this series. Not racing tonight again. Another one not racing is Claus in the 650S, the Tier 3 champion from last season. We know he's incredibly quick, so I think he'll be good racing in the same car as on Mondays, the McLaren. Giles, tier 1 driver, Tier 1 race winner from last season, excuse me. He is in the Corvette this season, he's the only one in a Corvette, and Kenny's actually the only one in the AMG. So I don't know about this as a pick. We'll have to wait and see. It could work out really well if they get into top 5 and Le Mans is the final race of the season. He could do very well, but that's a long way in the future.
Yeah, that's a plan that might have to pay off very heavily first before he even gets a chance for it to work out.
Yeah.
That gives us what, 4 more drivers?
We've got the 3 that are racing tonight, and Deco. Deco's in the Supra, by the way. Okay, the 3 left, if you want to take it away.
Poor old Deco. Poor Deco, just discarded. That's it.
No, okay, let's give it. Deco is in, was the Tier 3 runner-up last season. He's in Tier 3 again this season, so he's got really, really good consistency. He's in the GR Supra as well, so if he can string a good lap together when he races, I do think he has a good chance of being in Lobby A, in with the big boys and with the big points on offer. Yeah,
absolutely. Disappointed that the gift didn't appear when talking about Joe.
We didn't say Wilmslow.
We did now. So the 3 that are left to drive from Falcon tonight. So we will start. So we have Fatman, who was in this lobby doing laps earlier on. Who's Tier 1 pace, that's for certain, but
very quick today. He was only like a 10th and a half off of Javi in these practice sessions when he was setting laps.
Yeah.
So expecting a good qualifying out of Fatman.
But the issue with Fatman is that we know he is extremely temperamental. If it's not going his own way, he doesn't tend to like it very much. Usually we've seen him have a few incidents and a few DCs and everything else. He's left himself on the track or topless at the end of last season, so he definitely got a bit of a temper to him. And then you've got Ahmed, and Ahmed, relatively new to the league, joined midway.
A double podium in Tier 1 on his debut, Ahmed. So definitely one of the quickest guys in the league when he can hook it up.
Yeah. And, well, he sounds like he's had a lot to drink last night, so I don't know whether he's going to be able to hook it up.
Okay, lobby B then.
But yeah, both him and Fatman are in the M6. Fatman getting his favourite car back. And then the final one, which is a very heavy ALR law lesson, if you want to find that one out, is Reaper, who is in the Porsche 911. Used to be, what was it, an admin in this league?
Yeah.
All that time ago?
Yes, and also he's won a Tier 3 championship in GT when he raced with us previously. So he's capable of competing, we know that much. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how quick he is after so long away. He's in the Porsche again, which is a really solid car.
Yeah, and yeah, there's a lot. They're expecting two to get into Lobby A realistically with that lineup. And maybe if they can get all 3, they might be able to spring a surprise or 2, but we'll wait and see. And that leaves us with 2 to go. And I think we'll leave the unknown to last. So we'll go with our league's team, I guess is the best way of putting it.
Aero GT Racing by Aero League Racing.
Yeah.
Copyrighted trademark registered. Yes, so what we decided that if we were going to expand, it would be a nice opportunity to just set up a team to allow some of our regular drivers who've raced with us for so long race with a team, because the way that esports works is the teams enter, not the drivers. So if you aren't on a team, it can be a bit how do I get into this. So we've opened it up, and we've got quite a decent team, I would say. Aero GT, I think they have a great chance of qualifying in the top 5. So let me just find where they are. We got the team captain, who is Owen, who's a tier 1 race winner. He's racing in the Nissan GTR. We also got some other tier 1 drivers. We've got CMP, another tier 1 race winner. He's in the Mazda RX Vision, whenever his wheel gets fixed at least, and hopefully he'll come back and race later on in the season. And the last tier 1 driver is Capale, another one in the Nissan GTR. So this team putting their focus in the Nissan.
Yeah. So they might be able to spring a few surprises there. We've been obviously very involved in Capale's practice. So we've been in some of the lobbies all day in particular. So we're expecting some decent things from the ALR team. To nominate Capale and Spin tonight, right? There's driving.
Yeah, Dominic, obviously runner-up in tier 2. He is actually pretty much tier 1 pace, but we have so many people who are tier 1 pace that him and a few others ended up in tier 2 just by default. But absolutely expecting him to be a lobby A contender, another one in the Porsche. So him and Spin, who's actually on track right now, and only 0.14 behind Javi's fastest time. He's in the Porsche, and that is incredible pace for someone who was competing in tier 4 last season, finished runner-up, and now he's in tier 3.
Yeah, the only issue for Spin is, I know all too well, he lives true to his name. That's just certain. So he's going to have to try and limit that in esports, otherwise he might be one that we see regularly to the back of B. Oh, there you go.
Oh.
As if he's watching the stream on cue. But yeah, there's a lot that can happen in that team. Hurricane as well in the team, after driving in esports after a season ban in the Monday league. So that could backfire massively. Let's just say that by the end of it. But
yes.
Yeah,
but he is quick, Hurricane. So and he's going to have a lot of time to practice for these races that he enters into as well. And another one again in the GR Supra, which I was saying, one of the best over one lap. Got a good chance to increase his qualifying position through that.
Yeah.
I think we've gone through everyone actually.
Everyone.
On Aero.
Yeah, everyone
1, 2, 3,
on
4.
Aero, which leaves us with just the unknown, realistically. And I say that because these guys are another new team, obviously, to the league, but we don't actually know any of them, and we don't actually know the pace of any of them, minus Fluffy Butt, that will kind of discard his valve from the other day because it doesn't really show much.
Yes.
So.
Exactly.
Yeah, so this is Team Cavar. You can see Fluffy Butt in the lobby right now.
CAV actually stands for Cape Advanced Vehicles.
You learn something new every day.
So,
I wasn't paying attention.
I guess that's their company as well, like IRL.
Potentially. But yeah, another South African team. They've got pre and then essentially a reserve, so they're operating the same way we think that FGR will. Talking about that. There's a message there. But they're essentially working in the same way. So they've got Cavar Hollywood, which is the guy you just see join the lobby. So Hollywood, and then Fluffy Butt, who's in the Alfa Romeo there, has just left the lobby. Hollywood in the Supra. And then they've got just Steve. Just a random man named Steve. In the Porsche.
Hollywood, Fluffy Butt, and Steve.
What a collection of names. That's incredible. But yeah, they're the three that'll be driving tonight. So you've got a Supra, a 4C, and a Porsche. And then their reserve driver that they're bringing with is, I think Burnsy Poo is how you meant to say that.
Yeah, but some great names.
So
they win the name championship.
They are the complete unknown to this league. We have absolutely no idea where they stand. at all.
I've been looking at some of Fluffy Butt's laps. He is about a second off of Javi. So if that is his genuine pace, I think that might be the cutoff between Lobby A and Lobby B. So still quick, but if they want to be qualifying for the top 5, I think that other drivers might have to have a little bit more time in the bag than that.
Yeah.
But that is just practice, so...
The Alpha 4C is a bold choice.
It might also be like a big chunk of that time being lost is because he chose the 4C, which ALR would say isn't one of the best cars to pick. But what do we know?
Apparently not a lot if he's going to end up being high, because if he ends up being higher than that 4C, he'll know something that we don't. But yeah, so that's all 10 teams that we've gone through.
Yeah.
I think that leaves us currently 10-7 with some predictions to put out. I think that's how we should end this.
Okay, so should we start with who the top 5 teams will be?
I think
the 5 teams that will qualify after race 6 to compete in the final 2 rounds, which are going to be double points. So despite them only being 2 races, they're actually worth 40% of the points available during the season.
Yeah.
So yeah, who do you think those 5 will be?
Okay, so I think there's 4 obvious ones, and I think you'll agree with me on this as well. Project Platypus will get into the top 5. They'll be looking to defend their championship rather fiercely this season. Helix with Iggy and company, apparently people are quicker than Iggy, so they shouldn't have too much of an issue either. Arix,
yes,
because of all the reasons last season, they should have quite frankly. Project Platypus won't admit it, but they should have won the championship quite convincingly in the end, given the fact that they bottled a good number of those races. You got Kepler in Spa, you had Javi at the end in Watkins Glen getting overtaken by Iggy toward the end of that. They did finally win one in on the ring later on in the season, so they're looking to continue a bit of momentum, maybe make another statement or 2 this season. And the 4th one of those being FGR, Feel Good Racing. I think,
yes,
albeit they may not be as quick as everyone thinks, or if that is to be the case, that's to be the truth, but they are, you don't get 9th, 12th, and those kind of areas in the time trial leaderboard if you don't have pace. The pace is very clearly there, so all they have to do is keep it on the track and show it.
Yeah, okay, so I agree with everything you said there. So I think those 4 are a lock, and if any of those 4 fail to qualify for the top 5, that is going to be a disaster of a season for them.
Yeah, that would be the shock. That would be the shock of the season. Now, the 5th one is where we might differ. So, obviously, going through, I don't think Panthera will stand up too well, and I don't think B2. I don't think Pegasus will either. Even though I'm rooting for Pegasus, I love the lads, and I don't think they'll have enough. Which then leaves us with B2, Kavar, and the Aero League team. Realistically, I think that could get there. I might be missing a team, but that's where I'm going with this. And I'm gonna go with the unknown. I think
You're going with Kavar.
I'm going with Kavar. I think Fluffy Butt has more pace than he's showing right now. I also think that the guys with the better cars, and not the 4C, might be able to put some laps down, and I'm going to stick with that kind of assumption. And I could be wildly wrong, and I probably am going to be. Hello, Harvey. Yeah, so I'm going with the unknown. I just think I'm gonna back with what I don't know.
I'm going to say...
Why the fuck is Fluffy Butt German? The answer is because game's glitched. The fastest lap
Game's glitched.
Yeah, the fastest lap
Yes,
is...
the fastest lap is actually someone who left the lobby.
Yeah.
So, I think... I'll give you who I think's going to be P6 first. I think Pegasus are going to be P6. It's going to be a really solid season and an improvement in results, but I think they will just miss out to the Aero team. And yeah, they will get the 5th position because I think there's going to be some really good top 5s in Lobby A throughout the first 6 races by those guys, looking at their lineups that they've got. So that's where I'm hanging my hat.
Okay, so you're a little bit closer to home then, when in terms of what you think's going to
It's
happen.
not bias. It's what's the word? Statistical analysis.
It's not biased, but it absolutely is biased. So we're just putting a different coating on it.
Yeah, brand new team, a little bit underdogged. I think everyone should be rooting for Aero to squeeze into that final spot.
Fair enough. Fair enough. On that note, more at the end of the season, we've gone through the 5 that we think will hit the end, be there for Interlagos and then Le Mans. Who do you think's winning the entire thing? Who are you staking a claim to be champions come the end of this season?
Looking at the teams, I am going to go with... Oof, it's so close. So my thinking is the top 3 are going to be FGR, Helix, and Project Platypus. And I think because Project Platypus have not only drivers that are as quick as the other 2, but they have a really good mix of cars in there, and specifically they've got some cars that are going to demolish Le Mans. I think they're going to edge out in the end, but it's going to be really close this season.
Yeah, I think it will be, and I think everything is going to hinge on whether or not FGR are going to be as quick as everyone says they are. And whilst I don't think they're going to be the utmost pace that like maybe 9th and 11th in the world will show, I just think that they might have too much. Their qualifying will give them an advantage. They'll start the front basically every time because they're some of the quickest guys in the world. Obviously, that's just how time trial is. And the qualifying is essentially just a different track, like a different setting, but it's still a time trial realistically. So I think they'll be at the front. I think you're going to then have to find somebody to knock them off rather than just FGR having to beat somebody is where I was going. That page just lost the train of thought. Yeah. And that's really difficult to do when you see a team that's got, if for example, if they manage to put 1, 2, 3 on the board tonight in qualifying, how do you beat that? Like, how are you going to get somebody to go without mistakes from that team in particular? How are you getting someone through 3 of the quickest drivers in the world? And on that basis, even though the calendar may not properly suit the M6, I still think they're going to have it. I think they...
Well, you say that, but if that ends up being the case, then the other teams would have to respond with 1-stops. So Iggy has that, and Zico has that in Project Platypus as well. They can just 1-stop in the Mazda, and the BMW always is going to have to 2-stop, and they can just cause disruptions, which might bring their teammates into the mix as well. That's what I would be thinking if that ends up happening tonight, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah.
There's tracks that the BMW is strong at, like this, and there's tracks that the BMW is weak at, like Le Mans, which is worth twice the amount of points for this track. So it's not going to be a one-way street, I don't think.
No, I don't think it will be a one-way street, but I just think they'll have too much. Qualifying is going to be... Whilst we all say qualifying is not everything, but it's half the battle. If you are a good qualifying team, you are putting yourself in positions to win races. And 6ing, just have a quicker driver. Well, go and find one of the 7 drivers that are quicker in the world then, because there's not many of them.
Exactly.
There's not many of them.
Slide into their DMs.
There's genuinely not many of them in the world, so
yeah,
if you can find one, go ahead. But yeah,
so are you saying FGR then?
I'm saying FGR.
I'm saying Platypus, you're saying FGR.
Yeah.
Right.
You have one.
And okay, and who do you think, last question from me, will be the driver that contributes the most points-wise this season? The best driver points-wise, winning the most races. Last season, Viking won 3. No other driver won more than a single race.
Oh, that's a good question. That is a very good question. In terms of wins, I think just on wins, I think Super GT will be one that scored the most wins. But the person that will score the most points is not coming from FGR, it's coming from Helix. I think it'll be Iggy, just because he'll be there every week because it's Iggy's team. He'll be there every week. He'll be consistently top 5 because it's Iggy, and somehow he will. Even if he doesn't have the pace, he'll just be there. And being there every time is going to be more, and being consistent every time is going to be more profitable than being there and potentially spinning away at some points, or maybe if you like going through. So I think Super GT will win the most races, and I think Iggy will score the most points.
Okay, I was going to say Iggy, so I'm going to have to say someone else now. Because I think, to be honest, I think Iggy's going to do both. But I do think Super GT and Iggy are going to be very close at the end. So I'm going with, instead, Viking will contribute massively. He's also in the M6. So he's going to be up there or even above. I think he'll be above everyone on FGR apart from maybe Super GT, who again it's going to be really close with. So Viking would complete the top 3 of the season for me in what I think is going to happen when he races. He was meant to race this week, but unfortunately we're not going to see those 3 on track together until next week probably.
Yeah, and I want to do one more thing, right? I wanted some from YouTube chat as well. What's your bold prediction for the season? Just could be anything over the 8 weeks. Something that people would go and say, you're crazy. What kind of thing are you thinking?
So I've said this in the chat. And I genuinely think no team is going to always qualify in Lobby A. There's going to be something that goes wrong, and we're going to see drivers that we call aliens in the chat quite often not even get into Lobby A because they have a bad 10 minutes.
Okay. Slater 6 said FGR not finishing overall top 3.
Oh, that is a bold call.
Fighting talk.
That is a bold call. I think we need to clip it for future reference, because if that ends up being correct, he's played a blinder, but if not, then we could call him stupid.
That is okay. That is an interesting. I'm screenshotting that. My bold prediction, is that we will have somebody outside of the top 4 standard teams win a race in Lobby A this season.
Okay. I can identify a few drivers who were capable of winning races outside those teams.
I think outside of FGR, outside of Arix, I'll go and name the teams now. Outside of FGR, Arix, Helix, and Project Platypus, somebody else will win a Lobby A race at some point during this season.
Mm-hmm.
That's gonna be my bold one, because everyone's surely gonna be thinking that the top 4 are gonna be top 4, and we've said it already on stream that we expect the top 4 to be top 4 and they'll be dominating, and that if that doesn't happen, that's a shock. Which is why we reacted so quickly to 6 saying that FGR's not ending overall top 3. So I think that it's going to be out there to say that somebody else that isn't part of those 4 teams will win a Lobby A race this season.
I'd love that. Absolutely would. And that would be a massive contribution for one of those teams, because it would give them a huge leg up points-wise in terms of qualifying for the final 5 compared to what people would usually be competing for, like 12 points for a Lobby B win, for example. Okay.
Just before we end off, Sick, yes, I am calling your prediction nuts. I have them to win the entire thing, so yes, I am. But yeah, I think that might be everything we've got for the season preview, right? Just past 7 o'clock, just got within an hour of race time.
Yeah, we got an hour to go. We'll be starting new streams. Pyro will be streaming Lobby A, and Vexed Man will be streaming Lobby B. I'll be joining Vexed for qualifying in Lobby B, which is going to contain the 5 new teams, and Pyro will be doing Lobby A with the teams that competed last season. We'll do a little switch around after qualifying compared to where people qualify, and then I'll join Pyro for Lobby A, and we'll have a good race and see what ends up happening, and Vex will cover Lobby B.
Yeah, Vex is a great commentator. You guys will love him. But yeah, so I think that's everything we've got. We've just done runtime of just over an hour. So we will see you guys in just under an hour, 8 o'clock, or just before, to get all this fun and games underway. We'll see you guys in a bit.